This is Florida Gulf Coast University.
I'm going to finish with reading a little series of pieces that might interest you as writers. One of the title story for my collection is called King Cole's American Salvage, so it's a guy nicknamed King Cole in the fiction. But my inspiration for that story was a real-life situation, and I wrote an in-depth creative nonfiction piece about a situation in my hometown. There was a tow truck driver who was beaten very badly. He was one of those guys, you guys probably know these guys who don't trust banks. So they carry around junkyard owners are always like this. They would carry around a big wad of cash. And you just know something's going to happen. A big wad of cash and everybody knows it, so you know something bad's going to happen with that. And so I wrote an essay, and then I later realized there was more to say about this, and so I wrote the fiction. So I thought it might be fun for you to see the nonfiction piece that I based the fiction piece on. And I'm just going to read the first page of it, and then I'll read the fiction piece, and then I'll finish up with, actually, I wrote 2 poems. So you'll see how I used the same material to give it very different treatments. The essay I wrote was called Crimes Against a Wrecker Driver. The Assault. On a Saturday night, October 19th, Henry Lanning and Chad Van Duzen, each over 6 foot tall and over 230 pounds, pulled into Don York's driveway in a borrowed GMC Jimmy. They had an iron pipe and a roll of duct tape and gloves. Lanning got out and approached the house, while Van Duzen stayed in the vehicle. York had heard the neighbor's dog barking, so he opened the upstairs window and turned on the outside light. Lanning shouted up to him that he needed a jump for his vehicle, parked down the road. York, who is a trim man, 5'8" with shoulder-length white hair, did not know Lanning. But when he saw the guy was wearing brand new gloves, he felt something was wrong. He yelled down, "I'm in for the night." He told Lanning to jump the car himself with the vehicle he was driving. His house alarm system was already set, but after he closed the window, he loaded his shotgun anyway with 4 cartridges. That night and the next few nights, he slept with the shotgun in his bedroom. Chad Van Duzen was Don York's ex-wife's nephew, and Van Duzen had met Henry Lanning a few days earlier at the home of a mutual friend, and both men were absconders from their parole. In Van Duzen's words, they both needed to hit a lick, a phrase I hadn't heard before, which was to say they needed to make some money fast. However, the men gave up on York that night and went home, according to Van Duzen, who later pled guilty to conspiracy to commit armed robbery. According to the prosecution and key witnesses, Lanning returned alone 3 nights later with some rope and a busted-off tree branch the length and thickness of a baseball bat, and he hid in the trees outside York's house and waited. Don York was known to be a man who didn't like banks. Anyone who knew him knew he carried in his pockets rolls of cash from which he could peel off as many 20s, 50s, 100s as he needed. And he was rumored to keep his life savings in his house. Don York has always driven a tow truck, and for 25 years he has run his small junkyard just beyond the border of Comstock Township, where he grew up and almost graduated high school in 1967. At York's junkyard, you can buy tires, engines, radiators, starters, and alternators for American cars and trucks for less money than you can get them anywhere else. On the following Tuesday night, October 22nd, at about 8 o'clock, York pulled in the driveway, shone his bright lights on his front door so he could see to unlock it. He turned off his alarm and then went back out to his wrecker to get the pizza he picked up for dinner. The next thing he remembers is waking up in the hospital 3 weeks later. And he was hurt very badly. Like, I listened to all the tapes. If you guys ever have a chance to look at tapes of tapes of a criminal trial, it's very interesting. And everybody kept talking about how his gray stuff was coming out of his head. Everybody who saw him. So I don't know. He recovered though somehow. Okay, so here's the fictional version where you'll recognize some of the elements. On a windy evening in February, William Slocum Jr., 11 months out of prison, pulled into King Cole's driveway in a Jeep he'd stolen from an apartment complex near his girlfriend's house. He'd cut through the Jeep's canvas top with a utility knife, popped the ignition with a screwdriver, and hot-wired the engine, a trick William Slocum Sr. had taught him not long before passing out drunk on the railroad tracks. Slocum's car had broken down 2 days ago, and King Cole of King Cole's American Salvage had given him $70 for it, minimum scrap price. That old Mitsubishi Montero hadn't been registered or insured, so if he'd left it broken down on the road, the city of Kalamazoo would have impounded it. But still, Slocum felt Cole had ripped him off, had not given him what the car was worth. Slocum and his girlfriend Wanda were now without any car since hers had been repossessed 2 months ago. She also hadn't managed to pay her mortgage or get enough methamphetamine to keep herself going since she lost her job. And Slocum hadn't been getting any work either, so things were tight. He tried to make love with Wanda last night, but without the meth, it wasn't working. And he knew tonight he needed to hit a lick. If he didn't, Wanda was bound to lose faith in him. Slocum got out of the Jeep carrying with him a length of galvanized pipe he'd swiped from Parker's Auto Repair, where he bought meth sometimes, and where he'd met Johnny Cole, King Cole's nephew. They'd known each other less than 2 weeks, but right off, Slocum knew Johnny was a solid guy. Although he was 5 years younger than Slocum and still pocked with acne, Johnny was generous with the homegrown and seemed like the kind of person you could trust, a rare quality. Slocum had liked the way the kid had asked his advice, had seemed to look up to him. Slocum knocked hard on King Cole's ornate wood and wrought iron front door, and in about a minute, King swung open an upstairs casement window and turned on a security light, which lit up the crusted snow. Slocum could see by the tire tracks that the tow truck was the only vehicle that had been there recently. According to Johnny, the man's wife had died years ago, and according to the sticker on the window, Cole had an alarm system. "What do you want?" King said through the screen. The small man stood with one hand on his pot belly. His long beard and shoulder-length hair were black. Johnny had told him the old man dyed it because he thought it made him attractive to the ladies. "I need a jump start, or maybe a tow," Slocum said. "I don't work at night. Call somebody else." Cole started to close the window. "I'm a friend of Johnny's," Slocum said quickly and backed up so King could see him better. "Your nephew Johnny. You scrapped out my old car the other day, the blue Mitsubishi." Cole opened the window again. "That Jap crap isn't worth a shit." "That's what you said." Slocum had stayed up late smoking and drinking beer with Johnny a few nights ago, and when Johnny was stoned, he told Slocum what a cheap bastard King Cole was, how Johnny worked his ass off for his uncle, but the man wouldn't lend Johnny enough money to buy some old diesel truck he wanted. King Cole didn't like banks, Johnny said, and he carried a shitload of money on him, thousands of dollars, in hidden pockets in his jacket. "I should go out to his house late some night and negotiate my own loan," Johnny had said, and they both laughed. So you can see it, the same elements appear in them, but it turns into a completely different animal under a fictional treatment, or at least for my purposes. And so let me read these two last little short things that I guess they're poems. I usually lie and say they're not poems because I'm supposed to be a fiction writer, but I'm just going to admit it. This is called Lake and Olmsted. "Everybody rises up again in this place, like a bunch of stoned, hungry phoenixes, with acne and ringworm and knuckle tattoos. The rapist gets out of jail with a boner for the liquor store clerk. Nobody pays child support, and abortions don't take. Fetuses cling to uteri like barnacles to boat bottoms. The boys who cook meth bash open the head of our tow truck driver, leaving him in the snow to die, and he lies there for a day, moaning at first, and then a long time silent. But he rises up again to drive his truck, to tow the uninsured cars of coke whores and scrap metal thieves. We build a shrine to him in the bloody snow, where his brains leaked out. Only a few of us rob him now. And one of the best things about writing a nonfiction article is you get to go interview people and hang out with them. And what was most fascinating to me about the whole junkyard scene was that there's a guy in this junkyard who just tears apart cars with his bare hands. I mean, a crowbar stuff, but he just tears them apart. He's just a guy tearing cars apart. You think of that as something a machine would do. So that's what I wrote about him. This is called Winter Song in the Salvage Yard. The snow-covered Lincoln shivers beneath your propane torch. Imagine this junkyard in flames, oiled hot enough to melt ice and tires, hot enough to turn platinum to gold. Only one naked lady in the place, a cartoon from 1964. Whiskey and brake fluid thaw frozen blood, lubricate the hard-pumping heart. A skinny kid offers you a tenner for a Holly carburetor. Your voice carries over the noise of the tire machine. Son, you ain't getting it for less than 20. Oh, save me from grease and steel, you sing, as you hoist the Lincoln aloft. Reveal its belly and climb on under, singing, Lord, give me this catalytic converter. Don't let this beast fall and crush me. Let me yank this bastard starter cold as the pump handle, singing, don't let me die before I'm old, as you knock off those icy tires with a sledgehammer swung like a sword. Oh Lord, break free these stainless steel lines and don't let a beautiful woman walk through that gate to shake me up. Don't send me an angel, don't carry me away.